Shake it like you mean it, baby. Come on and dance with it. Come on. Shake it like you mean it, baby. Come on and dance with it.
Hello.
That music was waking me up.
I know. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it was better than the music I played yesterday on my stream, which was like this kind of slow country jam band kind of music, which was great, but it made me a little sleepy at the top of the stream. So
Yeah, that can really. I was surprised. Just even after the first song that was playing,
mhm.
that one
Yeah,
really.
I like that second one. That second one was good.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's cold. I am cold. I am
It is
tired of
very
cold. It really hasn't been winter that long, but I'm already tired of it. I'm done with it. Like no more winter.
Did you get snow the other day? We got like 6 inches.
We didn't get that much, maybe 3 inches maybe. But it's been so
And
cold,
there's
it's sticking around, so.
ours was actually really pretty. It was that clingy snow,
Mhm.
and it clung to all the trees the next morning when I went out to get my coffee. It was very pretty. And apparently like we're heading for doom and gloom this weekend.
Yeah, it's another weekend snowstorm we're gonna get on Sunday, I think. One of my quilt study groups is moving their date because of that. So I was like, okay, that's good, because I was gonna probably have to cancel anyway. I have to drive through the snow, but yeah, 'tis the season.
At least they're moving. At least they're being proactive, though.
Yeah,
It stinks when you have to cancel things at like the last minute.
the last minute, yeah, that stinks.
Like y'all, before we went live here, Stephanie and I were commiserating about obnoxious dry skin because of how cold it is. My hands right now, it's my own fault. I didn't moisturize after taking a shower, and I do also wash my hands a lot. I hate the feeling of like crap on my hands. But also I was like, my hair, it's like got a lot of flyaways, so if like I'm playing with it all weird, like don't. And then I don't know what the deal was with my dinner. Like I'm having a night of having like peccadillos about like my body
You're
because
going through it.
whatever I had for dinner, for some reason, I should have like immediately gone and brushed my teeth because my teeth feel furry and I don't like it. Like
These
when
are
you
all the
have like
side
corn
effects of
tooth.
the Mauve Measles. What to do,
You know
what to
what?
do.
These are side effects of turning 40. It's like a perimenopause scenario,
Could be,
right?
could
Where all of
be.
a sudden I'm like, everything about my body is annoying.
Could be. Absolutely could be.
Okay. Darn. I just realized too. Hold on and give me like 1 second here because I forgot to pull something up. Okay, there that is. I'm still trying to get used to my computer being on Windows 11. I don't like it.
Yeah,
all
you're
right?
not
I
going to
just-
be able to use that complaint much longer because the rest of the universe has been on Windows 11 for several years now. So
No, mine literally did it just the other day. So thanks. It's literally been like a week. I held out to the last second. So I cannot believe that this calendar is almost done.
yeah,
I know I say that every calendar, but I mean, it's true.
yeah, it is. It goes by fast.
Yeah, so for next Tuesday, the 27th, our reading assignment, we're, still in Mauve here. We're going to do chapters 7 through 9, and that finishes part 1 of the book. That's pages 74 to 115. It is a hair longer than we tend to go. It's closer to 40 pages than closer to the 30, but it finishes this out, so I don't see why. And then we do still have to get out. Let's see. After that, it'll probably take 2 more sections to finish the book. And we're gonna have to get out what the next one's gonna be.
Yeah.
Man.
Have we talked about
You
that?
and I are
don't
really
remember.
behind on some things.
We really are. Like we were just talking about that before this, and it's like 2026 has started off like it has not started off as a friend. And so
Oh
I
no,
think
I
everybody-
am all set. I'm all set with this free trial. I'd like to give it back. Could I please have maybe a gently used like 2005 or something instead? I don't
Yeah.
want this subscription.
Yeah, this new model is not much better than the old one. I'll take the cheaper 2025. But yeah, I feel like we're not the only ones that are kind of like on the struggle
No.
bus. So yeah, but this is why we get together, so that at the very least we can commiserate, right? So we've got some weather reports from around the country. And hi, LJ. So Janet, as always, has lovely weather in Monterey. Although I guess clouds maybe aren't terribly lovely, but no rain. 61 degrees. Oh my gosh, Janet.
I will take that. Weather is tropical.
I know what I would do
compared
for
to what we've
61
got.
degrees. So Marianne has got a crispy 12 with a -3 wind chill. Marianne's in Michigan. So, and Dawn C with the needle. If it's a contest, 35-45. Now wait a minute. That seems awfully warm for where you are.
Yeah, it's true.
So
That
Yeah.
seems pretty tropical for how cold it can be. Oh no, wait a minute. I think she meant -35 to 45
that's a possibility.
because I see the negative after the contest. It's either a dash or it's a negative, and I think it's a negative. Thanks so much for showing up, Don. Haven't seen you in a hot minute. I don't know if you were here to hear me talk about that I hate my body. Yeah, minus. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess she wins. Although I will say, I don't know if other people with chilly places feel this way, but I feel this way. There does come a point when it gets so cold, it's like not cold anymore.
I know, right?
Like
Antarctica arrives this weekend.
yeah, I'm really waiting. Like so far in some of the current projections they're running for my area of that band of disaster, we're in a not great zone.
This
I
is a
don't love
this
it,
is
but I-
polar vortex again, right? Like, is that what's
Mhm.
happening? I feel like I remember that.
But I can't, as much as I'm gonna complain, all right, y'all? Like, I'm gonna complain. But I can't really complain because they said that we were gonna have such a horrible winter. They said it last year too. They said it this year, and we really haven't had much. Our
Yeah.
snow melts every time. Like it hasn't been that
Yeah.
like slushy, nasty. So even like if we get like a serious storm this coming weekend, it's literally like the first real serious storm, and it's almost February.
Yeah, and I feel like we haven't, I'm in the mid-Atlantic, and I feel like we haven't had like a, up to your waist snowstorm probably in about 15 years. I want to say it was maybe 2010, and it was
It was
around,
2015 for us where
was it
we had to shovel
2015?
roofs in an
Yeah, I'm trying to
emergency.
remember what happened here in 2015. I don't remember. But yeah, it's climate change and weather patterns and who knows what. we have Canada and the Arctic to thank for this. So keep your weather.
But you know something? This weather is good for book reading.
It really is.
And
I can
if
I could deal with the cold because you know what? I have warm quilts. we all have a quilt or two, right? And I have
I don't have it. I don't have any.
and that's what's so shameful about you.
No, I don't have any.
You could crawl into a quilt igloo and not emerge until like the spring thaw.
I don't have any. None. Will someone send me quilts? I don't have any quilts.
Yeah, so
I discovered something last night.
I also have an electric blanket. So what did you discover?
We don't normally discover a lot of things while we're going to the bathroom.
Okay. Where is this going? I don't blame you guys if you run away. Okay.
But I made a discovery in the bathroom, going to the bathroom last night at like midnight when I texted Stephanie to tell her of said discovery. I did not warn her first that I was in the bathroom. And I discovered, like I've mentioned before, that underneath the stairs on the first floor of the house, we have like a Harry Potter bathroom that's under the stairs. It's really tiny. It can barely fit a human.
Were you
no
in
legs.
that particular bathroom when you texted
Yep.
me?
Yep. I was literally, so I'm like sitting there, and then it's late, I'm like, huh. And I texted Stephanie and I was like, hey, I just noticed that my Harry Potter bathroom is like a Perkins purple mauve.
I would call what is in my dining room here, well, it's formerly my dining room, it is now my office. I think that this wallpaper, we have anaglypta wallpaper that my husband decided he needed to put up, and this has been like 25 years ago. It is painted like a kind of like a chalky lavender. And I don't know if that would qualify for like let's see, the V in here is like the rosy colored one, but the M, A, U, and E in the title of the book are this sort of lavendery color. And it's close. I feel like it's close.
It's funny because I was doing some work last week with a dress historian friend of ours, and was talking to her about mauve and things like that. And specifically, I was asking her if she knew off the top of her head about like any worthwhile like quilts to look at or things like that. But we were talking about how the color has changed
Right
over the years and like what people consider it. She had said, in her opinion, the original color is like an amethyst, and I was like, huh.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know that I've considered that comparison. I've heard it kind of like more like a lilac, but then if you look at it's a lot deeper.
Particular dress, is like
I have that for tonight. I pulled that up.
Yeah, and I feel like this particular dress is maybe a bit misleading because it looks like it's like a silk. Does it actually say? Yeah, it's a silk dress. So it's got this sheen to it. And I think it kind of, maybe it glows sort of a little more than, but yeah, like these pictures definitely remind me. Some of these are kind of a grapey color, so it's kind of like, I feel sort of like,
Between a warm tone purple and a cool tone purple.
right.
This is a warm.
It's a bit of a struggle there. Okay. So that
Yeah.
middle dress there in that picture, I realized that
it's the same dress.
it is the
It's
same dress.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just different.
It's different lighting, right? See, and
Yeah,
that's
because this.
yeah, okay. That's the thing that I'm kind of like, okay. It goes from this like grapey color to this like really grayish lavender to like that looks like it's just in shadow. My wallpaper
Well, and this
is
is the
about the
same.
color of that in the middle.
This is the same dress in
It
the
is
book.
the same dress, yeah.
So I had been looking. I'd been looking for some stuff, some visuals to look at, and it is not proving super easy. Because when you search, Perkin and his purples and his this and that, it's often looks like kind of just a multiple institutions, just kind of a regurgitation of the same kind of very short. Like there's
Yes.
not a lot, unless you went deep into the primary sources, it looks like.
And I have to say,
But I was
to just touch on that really quickly, I have to say, based on the amount of information I have found online, it sounds like you've done the same search I have. Simon Garfield, the author of this, I think he did a great job with this information he pulled together to write a whole book, because it feels like he has to have been jumping pretty deep into those primary sources, because there is not a lot out there.
Yeah, he's got a decent sized bibliography in the back, which, it's funny, one of the things that prompted me to check on that, and I've got like just kind of a little bit of a critique here, is, in so many sections here, he's directly quoting someone, a letter, Perkins himself, someone else, and he's never giving any references on where that quote came from. I was like, are there no notes in here? And then I'm like looking, and then I'm like, oh, it's just a bibliography. Just saying, you're supposed to quote quotes with sources. Right. But that's just a critique.
Yeah, the quotes at the top of each chapter.
No, I'm talking about the ones in text.
They have their source, but yeah. Wow.
But that led me, so some of the things I've been searching are I was searching for examples of Perkins purple, Perkins mauve, whatever, on cotton. And I would search, images. I found like one.
Yeah.
And just FYI, I told you, Steph, my phone is being a poop, so I can't keep an eye on the chat while I'm sharing. So just
I got it.
Let me know if anyone's poking me about anything. So I did find, I've got this here from the Royal Society.
The Royal Society. I might not have run across this one.
And this talks about like kind of the breadth of purple. That we've already touched on in the book here about shellfish and stuff like that. I thought this was so awesome. This is like dyeing
look at
equipment.
That drawing. I love that.
Yeah, from 1639.
But like, some of the stuff, I mean, you said this is dyeing equipment and not. Okay, some of it doesn't look all that different. You've got some vessels.
No, do you know what this? Do you know what this like? This picture reminds me of? It reminds me of like something from Disney's Sword in the Stone.
I was thinking
like,
Harry Potter.
I don't know. It just does. Anyways, so we're talking about the shells here. I will I'll share this link in the description of the video. So then I came across this.
Okay.
I can't make it any bigger. But so we've got swatches of fabric dye with is it aniline or aniline? I forget.
I have been saying aniline. I think
okay.
I
mean, that's the way it's spelled. That's the way it's spelled, but again, we have the mauve, argument. So,
in our defense, I listened to a podcast the other day where I was like, oh my God, do people live under a rock? I don't expect you to have perfect French, but some of these words are part of the English language too. You should know how they're pronounced. So I don't feel too bad anymore, but okay. Go. Continue.
So in our chapters for today, it was talking about like the processes used to take Perkins purple and have a mordant to get it to stick to cotton.
Mhm.
So I believe this was one of the particular processes. And then I think this was one of the houses mentioned like super briefly at one point, where it was talking about different dye houses and things
Mhm.
like that. So this was the closest I could get. I was looking kind of maybe for like swatch books, and I'm not to say that they're not out there, but it's obviously, I was even trying to find, they reference Queen Victoria wearing a Perkins purple gown
Mhm.
to her daughter's wedding. That apparently doesn't exist online. I went straight to the V&A.
Okay.
I would I would think a dress that famous, there would be, anyways, these are just my gripes with humanity. Um,
Well,
so
my
yes, I did.
guess, I mean, this is just shooting from the hip here, but my guess is we may not be finding like complete references to Perkin purple, Perkins purple, um, in like swatch books and these, dye and mill situations, because they probably didn't call it Perkin purple or Perkins purple or Perkins mauve. They probably called it like one of their colors. You know what I mean? Or they didn't
I sup
assign like.
I suppose. But given like we're, these here are from the 1860s, so we're around the time of the fervor that the book talks about.
The Mauve
And
Measles.
the Mauve Measles. And then of course here it pulled up
Yeah, Barbara
Barbara
Brackman's.
Brackman's
Yeah,
blog
I think
post.
I found that last or week before last when we were talking. I pulled that one up.
Hmm. Um, but this is again just it's a breadth of information about a variety um of purples, not necessarily um all about Perkins and mauve and things like that. But here a sample of Perkins mauve, and then she even says not what I would call mauve, not today. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
so
And
I
I
mean,
would not have considered, ooh, good, this one blows up a little bit. It's not a great picture, but I would never have considered something that deep.
yeah, I mean, I look at that and without reference, I would say like your person you're working with said amethyst or
I would
um
even call it darker than that.
like
I don't even know
grape.
what I,
Like
yeah, like it's
um
really dark.
yeah, grape Kool-Aid. But I think we're in agreement. It's a warm purple. Like there's like a reddish cast to it, right? It's a pinkish reddish sort of cast to it,
Although in
regardless of
this
how
photo, it
dark
looks
and
like
tense it is or not, right?
this photo looks like a cool tone purple. Like it's
No, to me that has a reddish cast about it.
not enough, in my opinion.
Mhm.
That dress, the original photo in the book, that has the more redder, in my opinion. But again,
Mhm.
lighting, photos,
Well, exactly.
computer
Computer
screen.
screens,
Like,
exactly. Yeah, I
yeah.
would say though, I mean, if it's saying like when you look at a purple, there's often going to be like a red cast or a blue cast.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that anything with the blue cast is probably not Perkin. I don't
Hmm.
know. I feel like this is a hard one. I mean, this is what we're illustrating here. Like this is a hard one. Um, because you can pull up these purpley colors from the time period, but without like being able to trace exactly what they were doing. Do we know whether it is
just
Perkin purple or not, or Perkin mauve or not?
it's interesting because if you just go and you can see my cottons there. If you just go and search and then you go to images, they almost all pull up the same image.
Yep.
And that's this like original like swatch, which this purple here looks cooler to me than some of the other ones. And this one is like signed by him. It's like one of the swatches he sent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this isn't the photo I was, hold on one second.
Yeah, I remember seeing this
Yeah,
picture over and
see
over.
down here, yeah, you can see that he signed like a swatch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like going in and doing an image search, I would have expected to see now. So yes, we have that dress here which looks warmer, and then here it looks cooler. But here, this purpley back here looks warmer. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess we're just gonna have this one looks way cooler.
Yes,
If
definitely.
it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Here's again an image, like a sample of Perkin dye that he like signs. But yeah, there's not like a breadth of variety here in
Yeah, so
images
scroll
available.
back down right there in the center. There's 3 squares. They look like 3 swatches. If you scroll back up, right
This
there. What is that? Because to me that looks like, okay, so this is like a color.
the color that revolutionized the world. So a lot of things that I was looking at and articles I was glancing through kind of were in agreement that it became a bit of a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
and
there,
this looks
that left hand sort of collage of swatches, like to me, that's mauve. Like what's in there, probably that 4th row down where you're getting into like almost like a brownish. That's mauve to me.
Mhm.
Like that, and that's, you and I are coming out of like the 80s, with the 80s in our mind of, and I'm thinking like color me beautiful because my mom did that, and you were talking about like your
Mm.
bedroom decorations or
Yep.
something.
Look at this dress that seems to combine like colors in that spectrum. I wish I could, I can't blow it up apparently. Oh wait, hold on. Maybe I can. No. But yeah, that's interesting. Is anybody yelling at me in the chat?
No.
Okay. Thank you for not yelling at me, guys. Yay. So one thing, like kind of getting into some book things here, which I will have to stop sharing in a minute because I can't read my notes while I'm sharing. But in that first chapter that we were reading here, what is it? 4, the recipe.
The recipe, page
which
35.
Which I gotta say, by the end of that chapter, where you're getting like a recipe for a food item.
Okay,
I was like,
let's get there in a minute because I'm like, what in the hell? What is this? Like this
Okay,
just went off the rails.
It did, but I have something. So when in the beginning of the chapter, I just had to make that comment about like, why are we talking about food at the end? But in reading this chapter, talking about the recipe of the dye mixture, oh look, here's a little thing here. I was getting confused because again, hard sciences are not my thing. So I did find a YouTube video that's short, it's 4 minutes.
That shows how to make your very own Perkin Purple.
It takes you through the steps here. And let me just,
as you're getting that set up, I would like to mention on page 35 the quote that he begins the chapter with. It's from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, 1994. So at this point, I'm in my like junior year of college. So I feel like not that long ago, although in reality 35 years ago. So this is about oh gosh, what's her name? Judy Moriarty changing the color of the state manual when she became the first female Secretary of State in Missouri. She changed the color of the state manual to mauve. I wanted a color that represents me and made a statement, Moriarty said when introducing the new state manual. It's in good taste and it has a lot of beauty. I don't like that. Like, first of all, lady, who is going to take you seriously when you're changing the colors of stuff to purple? Like, come on. You gotta have a little bit more, like...
you self-hating purple person. Purple is
if
lovely.
This is what this lady is known for now, I don't live in Missouri. I don't know that I've actually ever been to Missouri, but I'm still thinking like 1994, first Secretary of State, like that seems important. But what this quote is talking about is her changing something to mauve. I don't like that.
I think you're just salty because if it was you would have changed it to pink.
Well, yeah, but I also would make sure it wasn't the one thing that was known about me.
Okay. I have shared my sound. My volume is up reasonably high. So let me know if it's like ridiculous.
right.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds okay.
Okay, let me.
Chance discoveries. Okay.
Fashion and chemistry. You wouldn't necessarily think the two go together, but
Are
when
those
talking
nitrile
about
gloves,
synthetic
Mauve?
dyes, there couldn't be a better match. The discovery of synthetic dye all started with a young British chemist, a tough challenge, and believe it or not, coal tar. 1856, the Royal College of Chemistry in London. 18-year-old William Henry Perkin is given the assignment of developing a synthetic route for the production of quinine, which previously could only be extracted from the bark of a cinchona tree grown in South
Cinchona.
America.
Okay. I was
The
pronouncing
wonderful
that
thing
wrong.
about this bark, it can be used to make quinine, which is an effective treatment for malaria, and was the only effective treatment for malaria.
With the expansion of the British Empire into remote parts of the world, malaria was wiping out populations of British civil servants and soldiers in the newly established colonies.
So finding a synthetic way of making quinine, or at least making quinine much more available and much cheaper, was a huge program.
During an experiment, he took impure aniline sulfate derived from coal
Aniline.
tar and reacted it with potassium dichromate. The result was not pretty.
So he starts off with this black gunky material, but instead of throwing this black precipitate out, he decided, all right, I'm going to see what else I can do with it.
While wiping up his mess, Perkin noticed that the cloth he was cleaning with was now stained a beautiful deep purple. It was aniline purple, the first synthetic dye ever
Now, see this
produced.
color
It was
right
named
here?
Not deep purple.
But this to me
Yes.
looks more of what mauve would be
Mauve.
today.
Yes, to me, mauve is a combination of like lavender, rosy pink, and maybe a little bit of like tan or light brown. Like if I was gonna mix it up with paint, that is what I would try to use. I'd start with like a lavender being like the most prominent, maybe almost the equal amount of like a rosy pink, and then start tempering it with a little bit of like brown or tan to get it that color.
And you know what's interesting is multiple times in the book so far, I've seen other people, you know, his contemporaries at the time, talking about it like it's a lilac, which is not as deep.
Mhm.
Lilac is nowhere near as deep as some of the stuff. It's very interesting. Anyways,
I think
continuing.
I don't think anybody really knows what color Perkin purple is, or mauve for that matter.
Mauvine, or mauve in 1859,
Mauve.
I like
after the French
mauvine.
name for mallow flower. Before Perkin's discovery, dyes came from natural products such as flowers, plants, and minerals. What made synthetic dyes different was the long-lasting quality that prevented color from fading from textiles like cotton and silk. Historically, purple was a color reserved for royalty. In ancient times, the dye came from rare sources like small mollusks found in the Mediterranean, making them extremely expensive to produce.
What Perkin had just done with this experiment is created an industry that could mass produce these very rare colors very, very cheaply.
Even
There we
Queen
go.
Victoria wore mauve, making
I don't think that's the wedding dress. I don't know that that's the wedding dress, but
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I mean, this is a hand-colored picture, so I'm kind of like,
Mhm.
was that dress really that color? I think that might have actually been like a black dress or a gray dress. Was she this? I think she was in mourning at this point, wasn't she?
she probably wouldn't have necessarily been wearing black to things like weddings. And purple is, I forget who had mentioned it the other day, but
Purple is
that's
half-
the color people
It's half mourning.
yeah.
Mhm.
So even though she wore mourning colors for the rest of her life, purple might have been acceptable for
Well,
like a
and you know
special
the thing is
occasion.
though, the thing is about half mourning. I don't know that like a purple of that color is really part of like the quote unquote Victorian rules of half mourning. I feel like the half mourning colors are more like somber. So I can't remember the dates. Like this is where we talk about we need our timeline. I can't remember when Albert died and then the date that was given for this wedding.
He
So
died in like 1841.
Okay.
No, 51 maybe.
Okay,
Somebody
so
luck.
he died before then Mauvine. Is that what we're saying?
He either died right before it or right at the time around like the discovery. I just forget if it's like 1841 or like 1851.
Well, let's keep going. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
making the color extremely fashionable at the time. Perkin patented his new dye and opened his own dye works factory on the bank of the Grand Union Canal in London.
Perkin built his factory along a canal because he needed water. And the story goes that the water in the canal would change color every week, depending on what dye he was making that particular week.
That's
his first
horrifying.
color was blue. He also created a green and a violet.
Although the first synthetic dye was discovered in England, the resulting coal tar dye industry became a highly profitable business in Germany through World War I. Demand was high, especially in America, where the chemical industry didn't know the secret to producing the dyes.
These dyes had a huge influence on the fashion industry, but they could also be used in medicine because they could stain cells. So for the first time, scientists could actually look inside a cell and see what was happening.
Out of the German dye industry emerged the first pharmaceutical companies. With this new technique of examining human cells, the first tuberculosis bacteria was discovered, thus leading to the invention of the first true antibiotic, Prontosil. Whether staining cells or brightening fabrics, Perkin's discovery is one that is truly to die for.
And that looks like cranberry red. You know, it's interesting. What do they dye the river with in Chicago on St. Patrick's Day? I'm curious to know that.
I think it's like, isn't it like a food coloring?
Yeah, it is supposed to be a food color. It's supposed to be safe. But I look at it and I'm like, that is a really, really green they get that water. So Janet beat me to it, but Albert's death was 1861, December 1861.
Oh, 61.
Mhm.
I knew it was a 1.
Yeah, so she could have worn that purple, like the mauve dress to her it was her daughter, right? It was her daughter's wedding. Yeah, she could have worn that before he died. Yeah.
Yeah, a daughter was probably marriageable age.
So I have a couple of notes here that I would like to
Okay.
address. So, you know, I think I mentioned this the other day too. This is on page 36. He's talking about, like, you know, he adopted a rather nonchalant tone to describe his actions. I was endeavoring to convert an artificial base, blah 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 blah. What kept him going? Because I feel like, you know, and this is me. This is my mindset. When I'm trying to make a thing, I try to make it and it doesn't turn out right, and I'm usually going to, unless I think it's salvageable for something else. And maybe that's the key to this. He thought it was salvageable. But you know, it's usually like, okay, set that aside, throw that away and start again. You know, and yeah.
Where are you right now?
Just
Were you
on
just looking at the-
page 36, yeah, where it just talks about, you know, he's kind of like, whatever, you know. And, you know, LJ just mentioned in terms of searching, did we look for aniline purple? Did we search aniline purple?
I have not gotten, no, I did not search aniline
Yeah,
purple.
that might be another search that we might want to do.
Mhm.
The other thing that I think is like really critical in talking about this, and, you know, some of this we really kind of discussed, you know, in the beginning, because of the fact he went from like this nobody teenager basically, and, you know, making this discovery to his old age where he comes to the US and he's essentially like a chemistry celebrity. But on page 37, it's like the end of the first full paragraph. It said, in the unlikely event that a scientist would have thought a particular tint might be useful in the dyeing of a woman's dress, they would most certainly have believed such fripperies unworthy of their calling. And so I'm kind of like, he's such a like a conundrum to me, because he sees the future in this, I guess, you know, and he keeps going after it. And like the next chapter is going to tell like all of the hurdles that this man ran into. I'm like, how did we ever get this out into the, you know, into the public and getting companies to use this? Because it just feels like he was hitting like one hurdle after another, but he kept going. And that's the part I just, you know, and it's even though coal tar being this thing that you like apparently can get anything out of coal tar. You know, like You need a new kidney? Make one out of coal tar, right? It's just surprising to me that something that is looked at, it's not quinine. He didn't get the thing he wanted. And then it's basically a dye for ladies' fancy things. And yet he keeps going. And that's the part I'm just like, this man was such a conundrum. I feel like many other men of Victorian age extraction would be going after something bigger and better and not pursuing this thing,
Well, I mean, his original kind of mentor, August Hoffman, really kind of tries to discourage him. But I think, you asked like what keeps him going? And I think something to not overlook in keeping him going is the first person he had really reached out to was a dye works in Scotland, and it's Robert Pooler. And he writes back, if your discovery does not make the goods too expensive, it is decidedly one of the most valuable that has come out for a very long time. This color is one which has been very much wanted in all classes of goods and could not be had fast on silk and only at great expense on cotton yarns. I enclose you patterns of the best lilac we have on cotton. It's done by a house in Manchester, and they get any price they want for it. But it's not quite fast. It does not stand the tests of yours and fades by exposure to air. That's a quote on page 38. So I think by having someone, like long in the business telling him right off the get-go, like, if you can pull this off, it's going to be a big deal, is probably one of the things.
And that
to carry
man
him
is like
through.
the only one that really kept like saying you can do this. I mean, even when
it really goes to show you how effective it can be when at least one person really believes in what you're trying to do.
Somebody champions you. You have one cheerleader. You just need one. But yeah, I mean, even in the thing like so this is page 52, so I'm skipping way ahead, but it talks about how he estimated that he would be unable to supply purified solid mauve for less than 3 pounds per ounce at a time when an ounce of platinum only cost 1 pound. Like, this is 3 times the cost of platinum. And his problem was that to make 1 ounce of mauve, he required 400 pounds of coal. And I mean, this is at a time when coal is like gasoline. It's like everybody uses it for everything. It's powering the steam, everything. So one thing Janet just noticed or just mentioned, she said, I think he was a product of his time, which was when men wanted to acquire wealth and not science for science's sake. And I think that's a good point to make, that this is the era of, at least in the US, we've got the robber barons, right? We've got the railroads and the oil and all the things, pushing to the end of the 19th century. But also thinking about the fact that chemistry at this point is not, it's not the lofty science that we think of it now as being like an important and challenging science. So it is kind of like, again, I go back to the conundrum of like, okay, chemistry is not particularly respected. Fripperies are not particularly respected. Like, it just, I mean, you've got one person in this industry, like, saying, keep going, if you can pull this off. It's just amazing to me.
Well, and to have him kind of, there were other print dye works that kind of were like, you're crazy. And, he also had missed his window of time to get a patent in France because he waited more than 6 months after getting his patent.
That was really interesting to me. And there was something that we were reading. I want to say it was when we read the Chintz book on my stream. Like, copyrights, they were so different in both in Europe and the UK, as well as just in antiquity, from what we know. Like, if you are an artist or really just a person who creates a thing, whether it's art, an invention, whatever, and you copyright it, you basically have that copyright for your lifetime and so many years after, your estate has it. And, and you can file that copyright like in other places too. But like in the UK, at least at one point, and probably much before this, copyrights were only good for like 6 weeks. You basically was like giving you a running head start, and then somebody else can come along and manufacture it without fearing violating the copyright. But then they've got this situation with I'm sorry, patent, not copyright. I apologize. This patent now is like an issue because he didn't file it within 6 months in France. Like it's so bizarre to me.
Mhm.
And like I guess so patents. Okay, so I'm thinking copyright. Patent in the U.S. Has different laws around it, but still,
Oh yeah.
it is something like when you find, and patents are hard to get, aren't they?
I don't know how hard they are now. I don't know that they were as difficult then as
Well,
they are
yeah.
now.
Well, but he's not even trying to patent
Because
in the US, but
I'm making an assumption, but I think you potentially wouldn't have as many people going after patents
yeah.
then
Well,
that you might now.
but think about how many products you get that or objects that have patent pending on them because they haven't been given the patent yet. So anyway, I digressed a bit, I guess, but one thing I really noticed, and one thing that I highlighted a whole bunch of, and I'm just going to skip across pages, is the descriptors, the descriptive words that are used to talk about these colors. So espionage must have been rampant. Yes, I think it was, at least in Germany. I know in Germany with the labs in Germany, definitely espionage was an issue. So page 9, we're talking about that this is the Tyrian purple, but talking this anecdote about the sheepdog belonging to Hercules. That color colored his mouth the color of coagulated blood. Ew.
Yeah, that was
right. And then on the next page, this is page 40. They talk about the scarlet became known as bow dye and was described in terms of bruised flesh. And then there's somewhere else I thought where there was a color. A purple sludge on page 43, and that is his. So, and he also originally called it Tyrian purple, which was the existing color name. I thought that was interesting. And one last thing I noticed, is Polar had a royal warrant, which is pretty important. And that's mentioned on page 38. I don't have my bifocals, I'm sorry. So it's mentioned on page 38, the second to the last paragraph. And if I had mentioned, when I was in England, I visited a workshop that had a royal warrant, and it's something that they have to, every so many years, they have to like re-up it, reapply. And it's only very special organizations, makers, whatever, that get that. So I think that probably, in my mind, it probably makes sense that Polar had this, like his voice made a difference, versus maybe some other guy going like, yeah, do it. Polar has a royal warrant, right? And that also is possibly why it got to Queen Victoria, because Polar.
But I find it interesting that specifically the guy saying do it was like South Boston Italian.
Exactly. But that's probably the path that it took for Queen Victoria to adopt it and wear this dress, because of Polar, because of the royal warrant, is my guess.
It kind of goes into how Queen Victoria gets a hold of it. Technically, on 59, it talks about how when things really weren't going well for Perkin, like his dad had decided, believe it or not, even though his dad did not like believe in him and wanted him to do other things, his dad's like, all right, fine, I'm going to invest all my capital, which was £6,000. I don't know how much money that is in today's money, if someone wants to look it up. But to like create this, manufacturing company from the ground up. His brother, who was in school for architecture, leaves to help. But what really got things going was Empress
Eugenie.
It's Eugenie, right?
It's Eugenie.
It's Eugenie? I thought that was the English pronunciation. Is it the French pronunciation?
I don't know.
Eugenie?
I don't know how you say that in France.
I think it's
French.
Eugenie.
Eugenie. Eugenie.
I mean, that's what I say in my like English speaking brain, but I think it's Eugenie.
Okay.
But anyways, it doesn't matter. The Empress, right? There's only one at this time.
Napoleon's wife.
She decides that she's going to be obsessed with Mauve because it matches her eyes, and chemists, dye works places in France were already experimenting with similar type
Mhm.
purples. And Queen Victoria wasn't always noted for her up-to-date fashion.
Yes. Yes. I do
And
remember
then
saying that.
right, so and then in kind of having a relationship obviously with the Empress, the book surmises that the Empress would have had an influence
Yeah.
on Victoria,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
because
I agree with
Perkin
that.
already owned the patent in England,
Mhm.
he was the only one that could produce that purple.
Right. Yeah. And I do remember that, but I think the dress is 100% polar. I really do. I think that, yes,
All
it's
right.
in the zeitgeist. Yes, it is in the zeitgeist. It is there in like fashion. But I think the reason that Victoria ended up with that dress was polar. It's just my opinion. So, Janice said, guess you call it by what you know, blood and bruises. Well, yeah.
Coagulated blood does not look purple to me.
No.
It looks black.
Yeah, it's kind of, and I guess like
But
wiping
you
it
get a
up,
real
it's
good
like,
you get a real good bruise after like a couple, maybe a day or two of like healing, when the blue's gone, and it can get a
yeah,
pretty
purple and yellow
Perkin
and green,
purple.
all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm,
By the way,
mm-hmm.
did you know that depending on how big your bruise is, they will call it internal bleeding in a medical setting?
Okay, stop it. Stop it. I know where you're stop it. I know where
I'm just saying. I mean, because it technically is internal bleeding. It's inside your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
All right.
That's not what this stream is for.
Moving right along. Okay. So
going I'm ready to go into Mauve Measles.
yes.
Okay.
So I was fascinated, and they mentioned that in the video that we just watched, that the French name for the common mallow plant is mauve or mauve. That's interesting. That sounds much nicer than mallow plant.
So what I found interesting is, this, and also when you created the thumbnail for these streams and you wrote Mauve Measles, did you get it from here? Or did you just okay? I was like, did you just come up with that?
No, I already knew that they called it Mauve Measles because I'd read about Perkin before, but I knew that there was a chapter called Mauve Measles. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I find it interesting when they're talking about how, like, the kind of fervor for the color becomes, something for satire. And I don't remember where it's mentioned here, but there's a quote in here. Of course, I didn't write down where it was, about like a police officer saying like, "Get a move on," and I'm like,
Yes, I did.
"Oh my god!"
Okay, so that's at the bottom of page 64.
Okay.
Victorians generally pronounce the word morve.
See, I wasn't sure though, like how, because like I saw that too, and I thought for a second like morve. Get a morve. Like, but if you say it fast, it might sound more like a mauve, like move, like. So I'm just kind of like, is that R really an R, or is it like a silent R? The way that,
and the thing is, there's so many different like accents in the UK and England, like.
Well, I mean, even here.
Indeed,
like,
yeah.
I did take a minute to be like, huh. But yeah, that whole like, you're more on.
Well, on page 65, then you've got where it's listing Punch, the magazine Punch. Or is it a magazine or a paper? Punch. Describe the disease as infectious, beginning with the eruption of a measly rash of ribbons and ending with the whole body covered in mauve. It detected that it was mostly women who were afflicted. So, I mean, this just goes into, again, like the fripperies, and the women's fashion and all of this stuff is just silly and not important, etc. Yeah.
I did want to point out too, on page 64, that it talks about when dyers were complaining that Perkins dye was coming out uneven, he introduced a new process of dye baths that included lead soap.
Where is that? Did you say 64? Oh, yes, here it is.
Yes.
Containing lead soap. Yeah.
So I had written myself a little note here in my notes that said investigate, because I'm like, lead soap.
Is
I'm
it
sorry.
soap
I
containing
know.
lead?
Yeah, like I know, in these periods we just loved lead.
Mhm.
Like, you know, um and things that shouldn't be around your body. But I'm like, has anyone else done any research yet about anything related, like lead soap?
So
Like
you didn't look that up yet?
no, I
Okay.
didn't look that up
Yeah,
yet.
we'll have to look. We'll have to look into that. I did not clock that. But yes, I think I'd be
God,
interested.
you of all people.
Well, I actually had two things that I on page 61 that I wanted to mention. So first of all, the English Woman's Domestic Magazine, Samuel Beaton, that's Mrs. Beaton's husband. So the
Oh.
English Women's Domestic Magazine, I think we have pulled it up here for reading a different book, and then I know I pulled it up on my stream. You could find it out there if you Google it. You can find it like on the Internet Archive and stuff, copies of it. But the publisher of that is Mrs. Beaton. When you look at Mrs. Beaton's Domestic Guide, I think there's one about sewing and there's one about housekeeping and recipes and stuff. I just didn't realize there was that connection there. So that's an interesting fact, an interesting piece of intel. But I wanted to read the description of Her Majesty's dress because I think it is beautiful. So this is the Illustrated London News reported that the train and body of Her Majesty's dress was composed of rich mauve lilac velvet, trimmed with 3 rows of lace, the corsage ornamented with diamonds, and the celebrated Kohinoor brooch, the Kohinoor diamond. Is it a diamond or is it? I'm sorry, the Kohinoor.
I don't even know what the word is.
Oh no, it's a very famous. It's from India. I don't know if it's a ruby or a sapphire or what it is, or a diamond. It might be a diamond. I don't know. It's some gigantic gem that is like on that sash, I think, and like Queen Elizabeth wore it too. So, but it's the Kohinoor brooch. The petticoat, mauve and silver moire antique, trimmed with a deep flounce of Honiton lace. Honiton is an area in the UK where they make lovely lace. And the headdress, a royal diadem of diamonds and pearls. So like a little tiara. It just sounds so pretty. I was like, oh, she really probably looks like a princess.
Okay, so the fact that you are talking about like that description, I specifically searched for like Victoria's like dress she wore to her daughter's wedding. And I would expect, given a description like that there would have been court artists that would have drawn the dress.
Potentially. Yeah.
And I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It very well might in a vault in a museum somewhere. I was kind of just surprised that I wasn't finding it. Online. Okay, so Janet just said lead soap is used to remove lead. It doesn't contain lead. Man, it is so misleading. That is such a misleading name.
Yes, lead removal soap. But the thing is, like, is this like when you get like, I don't know, I'm picturing like, you know how when you were a kid, did you ever like try to get the use silly putty to get the texture of your clothes and then it accidentally got embedded in your clothes? So I picture it, some lead like embedded.
No,
like, oh man, I gotta
Stephanie,
scrub that out.
No. I used silly putty to pick up the pictures of comics in the newspaper like normal children did.
Yeah, but you could also like use it on your clothes to get like okay.
You mean to put crap in your clothes that your mom will hate you for?
Yeah, my mom still talks about trying to, and I can't. It was one of my T-shirts. It was a really good T-shirt too. It was like the Brady Bunch or something like that, and I got silly putty on it. In any event,
If it makes you feel any better, I once dug outside and put worms in the pockets of my Easter dress.
But that's interesting. It is to remove lead. It doesn't contain lead. So I'm guessing it's something. I mean, lead is soft, but also I'm guessing like maybe particulate. We'll have to look into this more.
So it was funny because like when I read it, and I don't know about you, but especially like the way that it said Victorians pronounced mauve or mauve, and it was and I just kind of go mauve. So I'm like reading, right, and I'm like, lead soap. I'm like, God, is that one of the reasons why all the textiles have lead in it or something?
Get
Like,
out
was
your
this more
lead
than
soap,
just the
governor.
green?
You've got some more to
Like,
wash.
well, I'm just like, everyone talks about like the deadly like green
Mm-hmm.
fabrics and things
Shields
like
green.
that, and
Yeah, Shields green is
but
the.
I'm like, was it worse than that? Like, did everything just everything have lead in it,
Well, so lead,
or
I think.
arsenic, or
Yeah, Shields green had arsenic. So arsenic and lead
Mhm.
were, yeah, they were killing a lot of people up until.
And it was in, well, I mean, it was like, I mean, you and I have to, always have to make sure to be careful to test for like lead paint that could be left over somewhere in our
Sure.
antique homes.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
That,
I know
in
about
fact,
you, but like
my house is a problem. Yeah.
I like to gnaw on windowsills, so like I gotta make sure.
I like to lick my
Um,
doors. Yeah, we had to do lead abatement in our house when we bought it. Oh, that is a nightmare and a half. So moving along on page 67, I wanted to note that he's getting into Charles Worth here, and he's talking about
mhm.
this coinciding with some of these fashion crazes. So the crinoline, the hooped iron cage that they're wearing, and this is different from like paniers and the stuff that they wore like in the French court. Still big wide dresses, but this is like your Southern belle dress that everybody pictures, like the big round thing. That is this era, and his mention of Charles Worth is a big deal here because Charles Worth was, he was a fashion courtier to the stars, essentially, to all of these royals and other people of importance. So I think that's another place where once Eugenie and Queen Victoria and purple's getting again into the zeitgeist, of course Worth is going to pick it up. So
Can you do something for me as someone that understands a lot more fashion things than I do?
Mhm.
What the hell is haute couture?
haute couture is I'm sure that there is like a firm definition
Yeah,
of
there
it.
is. I looked it up. I
oh.
don't like it. Like, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, haute couture to me is like it's the fashion of the elite. It is something that is made, it is bespoke. It is not, it's not off the peg, meaning I didn't go to Nordstrom's and buy it. Somebody created it for me, and it is based on like the fashion of the day. That's my understanding of it. I know I've seen a specific definition, but what are you getting on it?
Like just like the dictionary definition, and just generally what I was seeing is like expensive fashionable clothes produced by leading fashion houses.
I would say that
And
is,
then
that
like
is
just
what
a
it,
little just a little more commentary just says like it's the creation of exclusive custom fitted high-end fashion design.
yeah, custom fitted. Yeah, so it's something that has been either what is the word I'm looking not renovated. It's been tailored to fit your body.
Take like my clothes to a tailor. Can you renovate these pants for me? I'd like to put in a second story. I need a custom bath.
I can't think of the word I was looking for, but basically like a garment that is tailored specifically for your body or made from scratch for your body. Like I think that's the important aspect of haute couture. Something that has been renovated for your form.
Oh, I don't think we've had a laugh that good on the stream in a while.
Well, you can always count on me to be unable to grasp a word out of the ether and come
Yeah,
up
but
with
you
something
know
ridiculous.
what? These like unprecedented dumpster fire times need a good laugh like that for renovating your haute couture.
And, just moving along with that, on pages 68 and 69, well, 69 it's very right there at the top. It's talking about dye makers couldn't believe their luck. Their order books swelled, not just from the huge demand for dress material, but for the knock-on effects of newly exposed ankles.
Because someone had renovated their dresses.
Exactly. They whacked off the bottom, so now you see ankles. Oh, titter, titter. How? But on page 68, now this is some stuff I've heard before, but hadn't thought much about it. They're in the middle talking about reports of women being engulfed by flames after catching their dress by an open hearth. The Princess Royal burnt her arm after brushing past a candle. Cathedral in Santiago and 2,000 women were, I mean, my God, this is terrible. So yeah, the dress and its victims. And then it goes on to say that women would be at severe risk from the climate. Any medical man in good practice can tell of the spread of rheumatism, since women ceased to wear their clothing about their limbs and struck it off with frames and hoops. So it's not clinging to your body. It's voluminous, so you're going to get the rheumatiz.
So Janet has come up with a different meaning for haute couture. She says it refers to a specific type of upper garment common in Europe during the 16th to 18th century, or to the upper portion of modern dress to distinguish it from the skirt and sleeves.
Oh, interesting.
That's not one I've heard before. But I have heard varying things to where even today, in today's fashion, like they still use that term. And I'm always thinking, like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
essentially,
why don't we just call it like bespoke, custom made clothing? Like,
because haute couture sounds like, you know, I mean, essentially the stuff that they dress people in for the red carpet, even though that is not bespoke for them specifically, although it may be tailored, you know, to fit their bodies for, you know, if necessary, but that's haute couture. It's the stuff that nobody can
well, now,
afford.
and I mean, now,
even the
now they just
celebrities,
call it,
because they have
like-
to borrow it.
now they just call it like couture.
Yeah.
Like, is that the same? Is it any different if you have to take the haute off or not?
I think it's essentially the same thing. I mean, it's kind of a catch-all word now. And I mean, it sounds like, just based on what Janet found, it's, she's saying 16th to 18th century. So I mean, we're talking like sort of before these times. It's
Where it
like,
probably meant something very more specific.
and
than
it is
started
likely
to be.
taken on this like, yeah. And it means it's coming out of France. It's a French word, you know, French term. So yeah.
Well, that was the other thing I wondered, like, is it only talking about French fashion? Because, like, you know, it seems like among fashion, French fashion is its own particular, like, thing.
It still is to some extent. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, that's why I'm just like, I am so not abreast of these scenarios.
Frou-frou clothes. Yes. Creation of exclusive fashions. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of all that. Like, I think, you know, Janet has a term, you know, has it as a term that is something kind of specific, but I think as you go through the centuries, it just becomes kind of what it is today. It's clothes that are special, clothes you can't afford without mortgaging your house, and you know, they're special clothes. They're clothes for rich people. They're not for us, not for the rest of us. Although it trickles down, right?
Sure.
So, like those weird boots that are like a little pair of jeans around your leg. I'm sure that started a couple years ago in France, and now it's shifted down and we can buy them on Temu now. It's silly stuff like that, right?
You can buy the breakable shoes on Temu now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's again, it's one of those things where I remember all the interesting discoveries we were making this time last year, starting off with Dress Diary.
I
And
can't believe that was a year ago. Oh my God.
right? Well, and what I enjoy about it so much when we kind of step out of the realm of just like specific quilt book into its related areas, because obviously this is relevant to anything that's dealing with fabric.
Sure.
How much more we learn about other things that are going on at the time, because again, like that Dress Diary book, she really went off into like how history and politics and all kinds of things were informing, you know, other things that were going on at the time.
And that's why I love these books.
Yeah, that's
You
what this
know?
is doing too.
Yeah, I have the one about red. I haven't even cracked it open, so I don't know how. I think it's more of like this sort of global kind of tracing of red pigments and stuff. But you do, like, the authors that write those books, and I mean, I'm including Simon Garfield here. There's so many interesting facts that you pick up And I mean, I feel like I get just as good of an education from reading these kind of books as I do from sitting down and like sort of pounding the pavement with like quilts. I feel like I get just as much out of these, and then it all comes together, and then you feel like you're really smart.
I know, you're like, oh my God, I might know things.
I know
now.
stuff, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I never thought I'd be sitting here going, okay, guys, what is haute couture?
So I mean, and moving along into, you know, more stuff about fabric, on page 71, he starts talking about tensile, which is fascinating because I'm like, oh, a tenacity cellulosic. And then, you know, this a little bit about lyocell. I thought this was interesting because rayon is being invented sort of here at the end of the Victorian era in Paris, and it's available in Europe.
I can't wrap my head around that.
I know, right? Yeah, but I think it's
I've
coming
never
out
been
of,
able.
so the detail I have on rayon is specifically from this book from the 1930s, I think, that talks about the rayon in the US, because that's kind of separate from European rayon. Like, rayon's available in the 1800s, but it's really available in the US in the 20s, because that's when we began to get you know, the oh yes, absolutely. Yep. The
I
Empire of
have
Cotton.
not read Empire of Cotton yet. To be
And
honest with you, because I'm reading for us and what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I'm not off.
I haven't
reading more
finished it,
stuff.
but it is right here on my desk. It is a very good book. I have lots of little flags.
Well,
in
you
it.
know what's funny is y'all like that had been one of the few books we had talked about maybe doing on here, and wondering, is it too academic? Is it too dry and big? It's a thick book.
It is a thick book.
You know, for this
it is a
kind of
little-
thing.
It is a little thinky, I have to say. It's got a lot of
mhm.
well, economic data in it.
Mm-hmm. And that was one reason why we were like, maybe not. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
some of those books might, because this one's nice and thin. Dress Diary wasn't overwhelming. Like, that reminds me, we have to make sure we decide what the next book is. Anyways, go
know.
ahead, continue.
Um.
You were talking about tenacity cellulosic.
Yeah, I just, you know, this was interesting because I really, I mean, I've heard of Tencel. You can buy clothes made of Tencel now, I think.
All I think about is tinsel that you put on your Christmas tree in the 90s,
not
80s and
tinsel,
90s.
Tencel.
I know, but that's all I think about is tinsel. I miss tinsel.
And Marianne's economics, not my best course in college. Exactly. Oh, I remember having to take economics and like, but reading this stuff about rayon and tencel, I mean, these are things that are taken from wood pulp, so and fibers, and in some cases, I think the wood pulp is literally coming in like as a secondary, like it's a product of like the wood processing industry, so they could take this wood pulp and use it in other places. But the environmental challenge of these things is, even though they're originally made from wood, there's a whole bunch of chemicals that go into it, and essentially they come out the other end as an artificial thing. They're a synthetic when they come out. And so this is something that, even though it's starting as like a natural product, the chemicals and all of the water and all the stuff that it takes to process these things is really what has led to, you know, where we're at now with fast fashion and all of these, like, you know, particulates and stuff. Because he talks about the fact that tencel fibrillates, little pieces of the fiber stick out, so it gives it like a fuzzy feeling. But I'm kind of wondering, are those little bits kind of like fleece, you know, like fleece clothing, the little bits come off. It's microscopic, but you know, it's what's contributing to pollution, and the making of these things is contributing to bad stuff in our world. So I guess two last things. Let's see. On page 72, I love where he's talking about the colors. So Sandy McClellan, in these colors, there's trace, which is sort of ranges from beige to brown, merge, which is from black to crimson, push, soft brights, solar glow, and finally filter, from blue to gray again. Like, we can't even laugh at mauve because that's the kind of stuff that we have today. And I mean, you think about like the Pantone colors and the Kona cotton colors and all this stuff. It's like, you know, it's all kind of a joke.
Even
today.
the Crayola colors.
Oh yeah, even those colors are kind of crazy. So anyway, there's this one, and I thought this was so funny. This is again on 72. It's talking about there are clearly some key influences who go around the world, and I think Sandy is one of them. In my previous job, and this is a quote. I'm not, who is this? Is it Don Vidler that he's quoting here? I'm not sure. In my previous job, I worked with a woman who was really considered the dean of the American color experts. She would say that avocado will be the hot new color next year, and because she said it was. She would do the colors for the automotive guys. They were looking 5 years ahead, and so she could say to the apparel people, Ford are going to be making purple cars in 2 years. And so the apparel people played off that. Not according to Miranda Priestley. I'm sorry. If you've seen The Devil Wears Prada, you know that Miranda Priestley has a totally different story about that. But it is interesting. It's an interesting thought process because, like, again, the fashion houses, they're looking down the road too. But they're only, I guess they're looking like a year or two out, whereas automotive is one of those industries that's looking a little bit farther out. And I'm thinking there's got to be other industries too that have like this farther thinking, attitude. And we're sitting here complaining that the Pantone color of the year is like white. And, for all the reasons that we hate it, I'm also wondering, like, how did they arrive at that? Did they arrive at that from these other influences that are, again, looking,
I think they have them all up on the wall and they just like fling
throw a
poo
dart
and wherever
it
it's
landed on
stuck.
cloud
Yeah,
white.
like they're
white,
just like,
white is not a
that
color.
looks good.
White is not a color. It is the absence of color. White is
Well,
all of the
or what-
colors or the absence of color.
The year before that, it was like pudding or something, and the visual that they used was awful.
Yeah, I despise these color of year things. Like, just keep it pink. If it's always pink, we're good.
Again, I did not enjoy my pink mauve bedroom so much when I was the carpet, the curtains, like back when I saw a reel recently that's making fun, it's like a reminiscing one where it's like what it was like picking your bathroom in the 1990s, and it's going through like a JCPenney catalog, and I was like,
but the
oh my
funny
God,
thing
they're-
is that stuff, like my mom and my grandmother always had the JCPenney catalogs, and I remember even at that time looking through those going, this stuff is hideous. Why would anybody buy this crap?
But that was back. Do you remember carpeted bathrooms? And like this thing where like every surface in my grandmother's bathroom was like this. Every surface was covered in textiles.
There's like the thing that goes over the toilet tank, right? That little
and then the
cover.
seat,
the
and
lid,
then
the lid, but not the seat. I never went into a bathroom that had like the seat itself.
yeah, I have. And I
yeah.
can understand where like we weren't necessarily talking about like soft textures in your bathroom and like what gets on them. And I'm just like, when I look at it now, just like horrified, like how did we not all end up with like diphtheria or something?
Well,
Like,
I mean, I hate to say it, and pardon me, y'all, but pee is generally, unless you've got like some kind of illness, pee is generally like sterile.
all right, everybody, don't go use Stephanie's bathroom.
I'm not saying I want it all over
She is
the place.
saying the quiet part out loud.
All right, changing the subject. Janet says, because I'm blonde, my mom always dressed me in pink. But see, the thing is about pink is if you aren't like the right kind of blonde, Like, because there's blonde, there's like pasty blonde. Like, I had the white blonde hair as a child and like pasty, like very pale, rosy, peachy rosy cheeks. And so pink looked good on me as a child. But, I had friends who had like more of like a darker like skin tone, even though they were still blondes. And like pink and rose and those kind of colors were, ugh, they did not look good
Yeah,
on
my
those
mom
girls.
didn't dress me in pink so much. I had like a yellow blonde when I was little.
Until it leaves the bladder.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there is nothing you could say about that like that will stand up against my argument of ill.
Well, I totally agree. I mean, really, like, nobody wants to think that they're, walking around, sitting around in a place that's got like covered in pee. Like, that's awful. But I'm just saying, you're probably less likely to die from some sort of pee related disease than a other type of.
I mean, I was really going for like this all encompassing scenario.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so glad that like carpeted bathrooms aren't a thing anymore,
I
or
totally agree.
having every inch of your bathroom covered in not just textiles but decorative textiles.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like those shower curtains that like looked like a window curtain,
treatments,
like
yeah, they have the swags and stuff. Yeah, I've been to lots of people's houses.
everything was so frilly everywhere. Oh my god. Yeah, see, Marianne, get a black light, right? I don't want I'll burn the house down.
No, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I will. Well, apparently if we could use the black light from outside of Stephanie's house and see the bathroom glowing from the outside.
I do clean my bathroom. Well, let's not twist things here. I just said, okay, all right. Well, so Janet and Marianne have both like broken my pee is sterile. And I said, unless you have an illness, generally pee in your bladder is sterile.
This was just an argument you just should not have tried to make. Like, why are you defending these people of the 80s with carpeted bathrooms? I'm sure if any one of our friends in the chat had one, they regret it now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's not the pee that's the problem. That was the point I was trying to make. It's other stuff that gets on bathroom surfaces that are like, ugh, if you can't scrub them with bleach. Ugh.
Can you imagine if, like, this video is recommended to somebody?
Yes. We will start with, dye and color and dresses and quilt fabric, etc. We will devolve into pee and possibly chicken sandwiches.
And renovating your pants.
Renovating your pants.
Okay.
Janet had the curtains for the shower. It was I'm trying to think. I think my mom did too. I'm trying to remember.
She must have. Everyone had those. The only person that didn't was my mom, and it's just because she didn't have one of those showers. She had a stand-up, stall shower, which was like the thing then.
Yeah.
It was like the new.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't have that situation for long because I think my dad hated it because you kind of had to like.
Well, my aunt had it, and my grandmother had. My grandmother. Oh my God, she had so many decorative textiles in the bathroom that the bathroom became a dark cave.
Yes. Yeah. When you have all that, yes, for sure.
Yes, I did, Janet. You bet I did.
And I think she sent it to me, so I too have seen it. Isn't it he's like rubbing his face on the toilet seat?
Yes!
Like the lid.
Oh my God. And you know what's funny is I know like we're like totally digressing, but we're at the end of the stream. So if you really hate this digression, like you don't have to stick around for it. But like we've all at some point of our lives have like had to sleep on the bathroom floor because we were just that ill. And someone had mentioned like, oh my God, imagine how much more comfortable it would have been if it was carpeted. And I'm like, when I think about like through your life, anytime like you've been really ill in the bathroom or just something just gross in the bathroom, never once when I thought about the fact that like I have to clean that up now, did I think to myself, you know what would make this better? Carpet.
Right.
Because at least if something disgusting happens on a tile floor, you can bleach
Yeah,
till
and I mean,
kingdom come.
yeah, for any reason, you know, in the bathroom, if you are lying on the floor, comfort is knowing that it is a bleached floor that will be bleached again when you're done with your illness. And the comfort is using a rolled up towel to put your head on. That's comfort.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're probably laying on a towel on the floor, not. But yeah, I was never like, oh my God, this would be made so much easier to clean with carpet.
Yeah, we used a lot of carpet in the 70s and 80s that was highly unnecessary. And yeah. Mushrooms growing on the carpet.
Oh.
I've heard of that before, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. People that don't clean their bathrooms well. That, yeah, I've heard of that before.
Because why would you think that the best thing to put in the moistest house in the moistest room in your house is carpet?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I really love me some carpet like in a bedroom. I don't like the feeling of grit on my feet. I'm not like a barefoot walker. We only have throw carpets in this house. So I do miss some wall-to-wall carpet, but not in my bathroom.
On that note,
Yeah, no carpet, mauve or otherwise.
I'm going to find some mauve carpet. I'm gonna
I mean,
find.
I should have had pictures of my bedroom growing up. Mine,
I'm gonna find some mauve
Okay, so
carpet for you.
just to remind anyone that came in late, next week for what did I say, the 27th? Yeah, it must be.
Yep.
We're doing chapters 7 through 9, which is pages 74 to 115, and that will finish up part 1 of this book.
And the pictures are in the middle there too. So.
I agree, Janet, a plain bathroom looks sterile. I like some color in my bathroom. I just like highly washable color.
Oh yeah.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna go use my non-carpeted bathroom.
I don't need to use my non-carpeted bathroom at the moment, but I do have to say I do have the throw rugs in there because it is nice to step out. You know, they go in the washing machine, but it's nice to step out of the shower onto a nice fluffy throw rug. So
yes, those go in. Those go in
machine.
the washing machine.
You guys are welcome. I know you wanted to get to this point tonight.
I mean, hey, the renovated pants was definitely the high point.
All right, guys. We will see you next week.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You know that big presentation you have